And then
it's recording. It is recording. Okay, so welcome to today's edition, August 22nd, 2020. Oh, where'd that come from? 2020 of our Mastermind book club. So some of us, myself included, and Nancy, have a goal of reading 200 books over the course of 12 months. Somebody told me that's about 4 books a week.
Yeah.
That's
when someone mentioned that to me, they were like, how can you do that? And I said, well, they're not all this thick.
Right. Some of them are tomes, but some of them are short books. And with audiobooks, you can speed up the listening as well. And you can do it while you're listening, washing dishes or laundry or going hiking, exercising, whatever. It's very possible to get it done. And I'm on target right now to get mine done. Doesn't have to be in a calendar year. Why would we do such a crazy thing? That's the question. So for me, it was a goal I set about 2 years ago, and I started on it 2 years ago. Last year, I did start late, like in May. So doing it in a calendar year was next to impossible. But I did really well. I read 100 books in 2019, about 100 books. And I'm already, here we are in August, I'm already up to 100 books in 2020. And so it's going to be tight probably to do it in a calendar year, but across 12 months, it's totally possible. Why would I do it? I wanted to do it because I got tired of living in poverty, both financially, but also just from a developmental, continually self-improving standpoint. I wanted to kind of get out of this place that I felt like I was really stuck in the mud. So, and I had started reading on Medium, and Medium had been something that was introduced to me years earlier. And since I started reading on Medium, then I have become a top writer on Medium. And the reading part really was instrumental in helping me get out of depression, helping me get unstuck, helping me continue to improve my life and feel better about myself and my life. And so I had read where, what do some of the top performers in the world do? What are their habits? What are their key habits? And there are a couple of key habits they have, but one of them is they're insatiable readers. And it's said that, Warren Buffett reads 200 books a year. I thought to myself, if it's good enough for Warren Buffett, it's good enough for me. And then I set out on the adventure, and it has indeed helped me come out of depression. It's helped me change my life. It's helped me so much that I've got the vision out of all this work. I've got the vision of starting a new business that's a coaching counseling business, a new program I call transformational mentorship, and it will have its own branding. And I'm enrolled now in September as get my bachelor's, my master's, and my PhD. I'm just going to zip right through there. So it is truly life-changing, and it has been life-changing for me. And I believe it has been for the people I've mentored so far and put them on this path. Their lives also have significantly changed. Some of them have significantly changed their life in the course of, 2 weeks, a week, 2 weeks, a month. They've seen remarkable changes in their life. So this is, I know this is something that is powerful and that works for people. And so that's why we do it. What about you, Nancy?
Well, like you, excuse me, I was stuck, a lot of loss, and then kind of just floundering. What am I supposed to be doing with my life? And knew I needed a change, but didn't know how to get there. So probably about 6 months, well, it was still 2019 when I had this kind of revelation of, something's got to give, something's got to change. And started kind of thinning out my life and reading. One of the books that I picked up was The Proximity Principle, this one right here. And what it says basically is that you have to put yourself in the proximity of people doing what you want to be doing. And I discovered I wasn't doing that. So Medium was a big outlet for me. Writing to me has always been very important. It's what I do. It's who I am. I am a writer. And finding Susan was kind of it was a COVID thing. We would have never met had it not been for COVID, and you deciding to do a Zoom, step out of our comfort zone. We got a couple of people on there, and it was a lot of fun. But I think we did 3 or 4, and by the 4th one, it was you and me. And we started talking about journaling. I know it was a longer conversation to get there, but it was journaling. And you started pulling out journals out of your room behind you.
Right,
And
I remember that call. Yeah.
I have to start. And it was about, and I think it was when you picked up the one about lean startup that I really went, wait a minute, I got to talk to this woman more. And you started talking about the importance of reading books. And I've always been a voracious reader. The hobby that became a business for me was actually reading books, reviewing books for independent authors 10 years ago when they were the ugly stepchild of the publishing industry. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And the connections I made there were so important. And some of those, I'm not doing that anymore. I got distracted. I let some things get in the way of me climbing to that mountaintop, but those connections still remain. And so when you started explaining to me about reading books, I was like, yes. How many you want me to read? 200 in a year? Bring it on. What do you want me to read? And that first book that you gave us to read, Sapiens, was kind of like validation of some thoughts I'd already been having of humans. And so that was a great book. But then when you told me to read Black Hole Focus, I think it's because I was not getting it yet. I was not understanding that, it is within me to do what I want to do and what I know I need to do. So when Black Hole Focus came up, and I know I'm skipping past the 200 books in a year quest. I think I'm on book 19 actually. And I just started, April 30th was the conversation, because I have it in my notebook that I started because of the conversation about notebooks. This is my Susan Beerley conversation notebook right here. And so I think I'm up to like 19 or something. But it's just, I can't stop reading it. And it inspires me to write more from, I guess, my soul, speaking my truth. And that, I came to that clarity moment at the beginning of the year of what I wanted to do. I want to write my stories. I want to speak my truth, and I want to play my game.
Right.
And I just didn't know how to do it yet. So I think finding Susan was a very, meant to happen thing, because it's put me on this quest now that I feel like I have a lot more clarity, and I'm not afraid of saying no to people when they're not pursuing the same purpose or have the same mission. And so taking this on is meant to, my goal is to rewire my brain, reach those top mountaintops. I have a couple of them, and change my life and really pursue the passion I know is inside of me. Because it's like, no matter what else I go to do, it's like a door shuts and the window opens and I've got to crawl back into writing. Nice. That's what I'm meant to do. And so I feel like this is really helping me do that,
Do you feel the same way I do? Like I feel like every book I read just further informs and reinforces both my writing, but also there just validates the path that I'm on right now, that I feel I'm on the right path.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I do a lot of the audiobooks too. And so I have a ranch and I have horses, and I'm out in my stalls, cleaning stalls when I'm listening to audiobooks. And my neighbors got to think I'm crazy because all of a sudden I'll go, yeah. And my horses are like, okay, she's listening to another book.
Crazy one that feeds us.
But it's like, I've been having those thoughts and I didn't know how to really verbalize them. Yeah. So, every book I read is just another lamppost along the journey that's lighting me towards where I'm meant to go. It's really, and it's funny because I'm not going down the list. You keep saying, no, read this one next, read this one next, read this one next.
Well, that's just because we have these frequent conversations. So I can guide you.
Yeah, it's like, you know what I need.
So and the book list. Yeah. So the book list is a curated book list.
This one?
Love that.
one.
Love
You know,
that one.
yeah, 3 more over there that, and I've been doing it. So here's something about audiobooks. First of all, I like it because it's very convenient. I can be doing all those things, but it's very hard to go back and reference stuff. So I have been buying the hard copy to have it on my shelf so I can use it as reference, but also so that at the end of this, I'm going to have 200 books on my shelf that mean something, that people are going to look at and go, wow, what is this about? And I'm going to pull it out and go, wow.
Yeah, and you inspired me actually to do that too. I mean, I had done years ago, I had like 30 bookshelves, and I had thought, well, you know, I'm never going to get through all these books, and then I donated them all to the library. And then, but now I realize that, and those books, granted, they were probably impulse buys, and they weren't as black hole focused as this particular
Yeah.
list
Yeah,
of
I did the
books
same
is.
thing. I
But
did the
I
same
have to
thing.
say that, so the book list that we have for the book club is a curated list. I curate it. And because I'm this voracious reader, because I'm reading so many books, there are a lot of books I'm reading that do not warrant and do not get onto the book list. It doesn't mean that people can't read other books in their quest for 200, but because I'm reading so many, only the best, the very best of the best are coming into the curated book list. And how do they make it into the book list? Let me tell you. So I did a neuroscience, and my field of study is psychology and neuroscience. I love it. And I love the ideas, as you said, about rewiring the brain, knowing that we have neuroplasticity. You know, when I was growing up in the 60s and 70s, there was this philosophy that said that, oh, you know, don't do drugs, don't do this, you only have so many brain cells, if you kill them, they're dead, and you lose your brain function. And we now know so much more about how the brain works, and that we have this ability to rewire our brains to, there's a saying, the neurons that fire together wire together. I love that proximity effect, because that's what happens with the brain. You know, where you fire in the brain, the more you fire in that area, the more you want to fire in that area, the more you will fire in that area. And that's how, just by reading books and doing a couple of, you know, basic habits, I've been able to get myself out of depression without any drug. I just decided I didn't want to do it with drugs.
Yeah.
So,
And I agree with
those
that
books
rewiring.
those books are designed to help people fire their brain, fire the neurons in the brain in a different way, in a different area of the brain.
But in a kind of a specific area, because we're all about growth mindset. And it seems like every book has been just a little, you know, a little bit further down that hallway of that growth mindset. So that's what I'm seeing in the pattern of the books.
Yes, the way I describe it is, we all live in these castles, and you picture a castle on a hilltop, right? And it's this big fortified thing designed to withstand all form of assault. We live in those castles. And then, you know, those castles, they have these little tiny windows, because they're really tiny windows so you can see out, but also they can't get the arrows inside those tiny windows. They have to be like the best archer ever. And so here we are in our castles, looking out these little windows. And every time we read one of these books on the list, the window opens a little bit further, a little bit further, a little bit further, so that our view of the world, eventually, we can look around in 360 degrees. And if you're standing on a hilltop and you can see 360 degrees, that is an amazing feeling. And you can do that from your home without taking the hike up the hill. Even though I'm a fan of taking the hike up the hill, and I do that frequently, that 360 degree view is really worth the effort.
Well, you know, while you're talking about getting outside and going up that hill, you know, part of the mastermind group is the 6 habits that have really affected me as well. Meditation has been a big one. It's something that I had done, not like this before. I don't think I ever took it this seriously, maybe. And that has been a big it's the way I start my day now. And it's almost like my day can't start until I sit and peaceful for a few moments. And, the journaling every day, the writing as my future self, that has really become a important habit. Nutrition, that's drinking all my water every day. But the nature part, so again, I live in a very rural environment. I am outside every day. And a lot of the time I'm not present in that. I'm just mindless, not. So I've really made a conscious effort to be more present when I am outside in all the nature that I live in on a daily basis. So, those 6 habits right there, plus the sleep, I think I covered all 6 of them.
Yeah,
But,
sleeping.
the meditation, nutrition, nature, sleep, journaling, and reading. And, those 6 habits.
You're going out and exercising too. You're getting a walk in every day, and
Yeah.
Well, that's part of being in nature.
Yeah, I put that under my nutrition, my exercise, and I've taken that past a tipping point now. My fitness has really, again, that's a COVID thing. I started at the beginning of the pandemic. Everybody else thought we were all going to sit around and get fat, and I thought, nope, no. I just spent 5 years losing 50 pounds. There was no way I was gaining that back. So I've used that to take my fitness to the next level, and it's been because of the habits. It's part of my daily routine, and it's something I do before I sit down to do this. And sitting down to do this is so much more productive now.
Yeah, so beautiful. It's so beautiful to hear that you're having those great results. So let's talk about this book that we've been reading called Black Hole Focus.
You want to go down the questions that we have?
Well, I think what I'd like to do is, like, maybe we can each take a moment to talk about what are significant takeaways. I hate the word takeaway, but what our significant aha moments were for ourselves when we read that book. And I definitely, some of the ones that you had are also the ones that I had. But one of the things I think about masterminding a book is, and as you had pointed out in one of our other meetings, it's really great to hear in a format like this, but also to read when people write about the books that they've just read that are on the list. It's really interesting to hear what other people get out of the book, because we sit in our castle with our little window, and your view of the hills of the countryside is different than my view. I'm here in New York and you're there in Arizona. So my perspective is totally different than your perspective. So the aha and the real gold nuggets that you get out of reading any one of these books, depending on who you are, is very different. So it's really good to hear what other people get. That's the value, because you get to hear their perspective, and then you get to look at that book in a whole new light, and that opens the window further too. So yeah, I guess I'll start, unless you want to start.
Go ahead.
Okay, because it's pretty brief for me. One of the things, there's a couple of big things that I got out of the book. The one thing was that I loved is that the guy who wrote it, he talked about his journey. He talked about being in school. He talked about mentorship, and it was in this book that I really came to this place where I thought about mentorship, because I've had great mentors my whole life. And part of what I want to do in practice in counseling and coaching people for the rest of my life is something that I call transformational mentorship, but it's a heart-centered mentorship. And from a mentor standpoint, you can have what I call an institutional mentor. But an institutional mentor is a mentor in service to the institution they come from. So this could be somebody in a school, it could be somebody in a business, somebody in industry, but it's a total cerebral mentorship. If you decide and you sever your relationship with that institution, that mentor goes bye-bye. That mentor is not interested in you anymore. And that's not the kind of mentorship I grew up with. The kind of mentorship I grew up with was heart-centered, that said, I'm here mentoring you because I care about you and I care about your outcome. I am here in service to you. I am here for you, not for the institution. That's a whole different kind of mentorship. I mean, I've talked to dozens and dozens of people about this. And it's really interesting that how many people really don't get that kind of mentorship in their life. We're lucky if we have parents that are in that caliber, but most of us just are kind of winging it. And, you know, there's no operator's manual that comes with being a human or teaching other people how to be a human. We don't get the guide. You know, we get a better operator's manual when we buy a car than when we get pregnant.
Yeah,
So,
when we get a new human, you're right.
so that's kind of this, that's really the root, that's the crux of this book club, and it's also the crux of my practice. And so what I loved about Black Hole Focus is that, boy, that became so clear to me, because he talks about that. He talks about his experience of having this institutional mentor and what happened when he found his voice and his path, and he decided to go in a different direction, and they just, you know, so I don't want to spoil the book, but, you know, he talks about that, and that was very meaningful for me. The other thing that I found very meaningful in the book was the idea that, and he really encourages, I love his description of why is it called Black Hole Focus, because, you know, people used to think, you know, you fell into something fell into a black hole that never came out. It's been proven not to be actually the case. Things actually do come out of a black hole. But the idea to have that much concentrated power and force into what you're doing in your life, what you're doing on your path, right? This journey that you have that is your life, to have the focus of a black hole is very intense, very intense. And how many people have that level of focus? So I loved that. I really did. And I also, and that it's okay, that it's totally okay to go there. And what I love about that also is you must go there. You must go there. Imagine if Thomas Edison, now I don't know what books Thomas Edison read, but imagine, you know, Tesla or Thomas Edison or any great inventor, Einstein even. Imagine if they hadn't followed their specific focused path. Not the thing that was what everybody else said to do, but their path. If they had not done the things they did that was in their path, they would not have tapped into what was in themselves, in their connection to the universe. And we would not be where we are. We wouldn't have electricity. We wouldn't have the gifts that we have today. Right? So we must find our voice and our path and do those things that are our things. So that was another thing that came out of that book for me. Also, I loved the mind exercises. I loved the idea of, you know, go into the future and imagine coming back and looking at your life right now, the way it is, and looking at yourself, even being, you know, somebody else, and looking at this life that you have right now and saying, wow, what am I doing right now? And is what I'm doing right now feeding that future? Am I on that path? On that path that is my path? Or am I doing something else that is what is for, you know, everybody else and not for my path? Now, I'm not saying that it isn't important to be of service to other people. Certainly that makes life meaningful and purposeful and valuable. But you must, right? You must find your path to do that work first. So I'm writing this book called The Bank of You. When it's done, it's on the curated list. It's not even finished yet, but it's on the curated list. You'll see we get more of this. And I guess the last thing I got that I really loved out of the book was I loved that I had this aha moment that I heard in the book echoes of things that I've heard in other books, from other authors, from other coaches, in a very concentrated form. And I realized after reading the book that there are so many writers, there are so many authors, there are so many people who just take what's already out there, repackage it, and call it theirs. And that to me is kind of a cop-out. That isn't like Einstein or Edison, or that isn't finding your voice and your path and what you're meant to do, right? It's easy to read all the books. Well, okay, 200 books, maybe that's not so easy, but you get the idea. It's easy to get all the books, read all the books, and then call yourself an expert, and then start writing about all the things that you learned, because, right, the other people haven't read the books yet, but now all of a sudden you appear as the expert. In my mind, it's better to just, like this book club, have a curated list, let people have their own self-discovery and discover their path. I do not have to be the expert. I can share what I believe are the most meaningful books to help you get there to your path and to your inner purpose.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have to charge you a lot of money, call myself the expert, just because you didn't read the books yet. I will just point you in the direction. I'd rather be a guide than an expert. And that's what my practice is about. So Black Hole Focus really reinforced that for me, that belief system that I have. Because I recognize the echoes of all these things that I've heard from other coaches right in that book. And so that was powerful for me. What about you? What were your moments that you loved about it?
Well, it started off with like a little bit of shame, because I've been wasting so much time of not working on my purpose, my passion. And I'm very easily distracted by other people and their so-called passion projects that usually end up a lot of work for me and not any much else. So that was one thing of getting really clear about what I want with those, name your mountains, make your list of your big goals, and then make your daily tasks around those priorities. That had, again, that's changed my day. And if we have bigger goals, our days are spent with bigger purpose to get to that bigger goal. So that's been a huge change for me. I'm going back over my notes because we have our Q&A. I liked the part about the big dreamer, but you talked about being dropped into your life. I heard it from coming in from like a younger me. If I were to step into my life right now and without knowing all the other external stuff that's going on, what would I think of my life right now? And I'd have to say, wow, I did it. I got to my ranch, I got to my horses, but I don't know any of the other stuff. But it really gave me a moment to be grateful of, even though I've been lazy in pursuing these other passions, I've still been able to manifest a pretty good life. And, it has to do with all the good things I guess I did. But to be grateful for what I have right now, so that I know that I have a good footing of where I'm going next. But I think the biggest thing was the 5-hour day. Not to just do something in little chunks and treat it like the side gig. Make this side gig the job, and the job the side gig, and spend those 5 hours a day getting it done, because then you're going to have so much more progress than if you're only doing it 20 minutes a day or when you're tired or something. So those 3 things were really big to me. But just, staying on that focus, not being distracted by it, being able to adjust, when I start getting the negative thoughts or the you can't do this, and realizing, yeah, I can. I mean, if this guy could write this book, why can't I write a book?
Mm-hmm.
But also knowing that it's not just about this one mission, that I have other things, ideas that I want to pursue, and each one is connected. So even if I'm going to climb the highest mountain, I'm still going to get pretty high up the mountain, even if I don't reach that highest mountain. And that I can do this. I think that's what I really got from this book, that if I put in the time, I'm going to succeed at doing it. And I might fail 1,000 times getting there, but every step forward is a step forward. Nice. So I think that's where I got. But, like I said, I've written a couple times about it. I just, I really love this book. I'm actually re-listening to it right now because I thought, I needed to listen to it before we go on. But, the last couple of, my book is totally marked up here.
Hold that up again. Let me see that. Beautiful. That? Look at
that. And that, as soon as I got it, I was like, oh my God, I gotta mark all this. No, I can't find it. It's really this whole, it's the last conclusion where he writes in the conclusion back here. This chapter right here, I mean, it's like almost every sentence is something you should put.
Do you have an excerpt you want to read? Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's probably copyrighted. We probably can't do that.
Yeah, I don't know, because there's so many of them. I can't read this whole chapter to you.
Yeah, forget it. We don't want to jeopardize anybody's material.
But it was like especially after getting through the whole book of, the shame of it, and okay, I got to get my stuff together. I can do this. And then that
Brene Brown, baby. Brene Brown.
every sentence though was like a bam, there you go. Bam, there you go. Do it again. Bam, do it again. And it was just I had to re-listen to that chapter like 4 times because it was so impactful.
It's a really good book. I really
just do it. Here's the reason why you got to do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. So, to have that as I think it was the second or third book that I read was, it's making every other book, I got to read it. I got to know. I got to do this. This is what I got to do. So I've enjoyed it. And then I've also been, the author is a very interesting person. So, there's more to this guy than this book. And there's more to all of us than just what we write. But I'm glad I bought the hard copy of it, so I have it as reference. But I definitely think I'll keep that audio book in my library too.
Nice. Yeah, same here. I do audio, and I'm doing the physical copies the same as you. And actually, you inspired me to do that. I wasn't thinking I was going to have bookshelves full of hard copy books again, but you know what? Yeah, that's happening.
I've already figured it out, for my when I get on the road and go do my traveling and motorhome and stuff. Yeah, there's going to be bookshelves in the motorhome.
Yeah. Plus, I think, just like, so I have a lot of people through here, through Airbnb and whatever, and it's nice to have a bookshelf full of books that, if somebody's just sitting around and they, have an hour or two, they can pull a title off, start reading it, and then they can go get inspired and go get the book. And sure, why not? Yeah, it's a good idea.
And it's always, I told you that's one of the things I do when I go into somebody's house. I look for their bookshelf. What do you read?
Yeah. And Nancy, you're doing an amazing job of writing articles and, analysis and just inspirational pieces on Medium after reading these books. I'm loving what you're writing about the books that we're reading in the book club. I think
that's what it's doing. Like I said, the habits, the reading that inspire all sorts of new thoughts and new ways of thinking about things. I come from a pretty dysfunctional family. I've got, my drama in my life, but to be able to see those events from a different perspective has really helped me in understanding the broken parts, that they kind of have to be there. I had to have those experiences in order to be the person I am today and write the things I write. And, understand, not being afraid to speak my truth anymore, because those are my stories. And that's what I have to do. So it's been inspirational. It's been a strengthening lesson for me, because the more you write from a very vulnerable place, it's a little scary. It can be scary. You never know what's going to come out of the woodwork, but it's what I got to do. It's what I have to do. And these books are giving me the courage to do that. So thank you for that. It's hard to write that emotional, be that emotional.
You're doing the work. You're doing the heavy lifting. You're just following the lead, and then, you're doing the work. You are doing the self-analysis. You are doing the reading. You are doing the journaling. You are doing the work. And when you do the work, you get the benefit of the results.
And it's such an interesting convergence of timing, to have these books come into my life to start helping me rewire, the brain from all the damage, and to give me these new perspectives and enlightenment of the experiences I've had, and to have it all come together at this moment is timing. It's meant to be, because it's helping me, with all the ancestry stuff and all the dysfunction and trauma and drama. Again, kind of step outside and be the observer and understand that I am meant to be here to experience this. Write it down. It's been a really cool timing, definitely.
Nice. Beautiful. Well, I thank you for your time. I'm going to stop this recording here, and
Hi, everyone.
And we can you can stay on, and we can have another little chat. So,
well, how are you doing? How is school?